7:14 at KPEL. Welcome back to Acadiana's Morning News. We continue to keep you up to date and informed as you head to the polls. Now, Bernie, where are we now? What are we, about 19 days?
15 days.
15?
15 days.
All right. We're
15 days. No, it's hard to believe.
Yeah.
But
we've had Senate
October
candidates
is almost
on,
over.
congressional candidates on, and now Judge Marilyn Castleland running from Louisiana Supreme Court. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you?
I hear you've been busy.
Yes, we have.
Wait, look what happened. I have a defective bell. You hear that?
That's what the world needs. More cowbell.
So, we get so many pamphlets. We get so many fans. Let's see what else we get. We get jump drives from candidates, but this is the first cowbell for a campaign that I've ever seen. So thank you for that.
I hope you enjoy it.
You were at the Cattle Festival this weekend, right?
Well, it was last weekend.
Last weekend.
Last
okay.
weekend, yes, yeah.
And then the McNeese Homecoming Parade. So all this works out.
Right.
Wow. How has the journey been for you?
Yeah.
We talked a long time ago, kind of once the race was really just gearing up. You came in. Bernie actually wasn't here. And when she came back, I said, we had such a great conversation because we talked a lot about people just being intimidated by law and people, automatically having just a scared feeling when they're in a courtroom and
it's overwhelming.
You talked a lot about kind of managing that and managing the expectations in a courtroom and how does that kind of play into preparation for this office that you're running for now?
Well, one of the reasons that I ran for judge when I became a district judge, and same motivation that I have now, is that I really want people to have faith in the justice system. Too many people believe that the outcome of their case depends on who they know or what judge gets their case or how much money they have, which are not ever considerations that should go into a decision by a court. And so people need to feel confident in our system. It's part of what makes our government work. But every branch of government needs to have public confidence. And, right now we don't have a lot of public confidence in many respects in government. But the judiciary needs to work hard to earn that confidence and maintain that confidence.
Mm-hmm. One of the biggest stories, of course, that we've been covering has to do with the lawsuits involving the oil industry. What do you view kind of as the role that the court would take should it go to the Louisiana Supreme Court in those type cases? Obviously, it comes down to what the law is, like you said.
It does, and people are sometimes confused about those because there are legacy lawsuits, what's called legacy lawsuits, which involve usually oil field waste and what damages people claim happened during drilling operations. And then there's the coastal restoration suits, and those are different. They're governed by different statutes, and they're different rules. And it's up to the court to follow those rules. The legislature has mandated how those cases will proceed, and it's important that the courts follow those rules precisely. People need to have predictability. They need to know what's going to happen. They need to understand that the outcome of their case is not going to depend on which judge gets the case or that judge's favorites in the case. And so it's really important that the courts strictly follow what the legislature has told us to do. I think if that happens, then everyone will feel like they got their fair day in court, and that's what's important. So
should you be elected, what is kind of the first order of business? We've asked some other candidates what their first month in office would be like. Well, for this specific role, you may not have cases in the first month. Just by nature.
Do because,
really?
Because there are always cases in the pipeline. And
okay.
When you go in, there will be cases there that are, as I say, in the pipeline. And so there's going to be a little catch-up for whoever gets in there because you're going to need to read up to be familiar with the cases that are already in the pipeline and then to keep up with the new ones coming in. But it's not appreciably different than what I do now because I am a stickler for reading everything about every case that I decide. And so it will be a lot of the same things, just on a different level.
What do you think the role of common sense is in law? A lot of times we see how, court cases play out. During the court TV era, people would be glued to one case or another where it seemed like a lot of people watching it unfold said, well, of course, she has to be guilty. But then you have a judge who says, but I'm looking at all these things, and this evidence cannot be admitted, and these things don't. Common sense has to play a role in what you do, especially because you could be setting precedent, or you will be setting precedent for future cases?
Well, I think common sense comes into play when we think about how the court works. People get frustrated. I get frustrated when cases just drag on and on and on. I mean, people want justice now, and they want a resolution, and they want to move on with their lives. And I think common sense comes into play when you start looking at ways that you can give people that kind of quick justice. Working a little bit later, starting a little bit earlier, pushing a little bit harder for the attorneys to be ready. Those are all important things that judges need to do, because ultimately it's not about the lawyers. It's about the clients and what their cases are about. And so I think common sense dictates that a judge always keep that in mind. I have never forgotten what it's like to be a lawyer and what it's like to hold hands with somebody who is sitting there waiting for a decision and knowing the stress they're under. And so we have to always be mindful of that. The legal system's not here for lawyers. It's here for people.
Marilyn Castle joining us, and we're talking about her candidacy for the Louisiana Supreme Court. I'm curious, what was it about the law that made you want to get into becoming a lawyer, then ultimately deciding, hey, I want to run for judge? What was it about the law?
Well, I had the desire to be a lawyer probably when I was in junior high school.
Really?
Just because, and actually there were not really any lawyers in my family, but just because I liked the way that lawyers could solve problems,
mm-hmm.
and that there was analysis involved in the law, and so it just interested me. But after I had practiced for many years, what really motivated me to run for judge was my belief that we could vastly improve the legal system. There's just a lot that we can do to give people more confidence. Right now, there's a lot that we can do to improve our criminal justice system. We have started taking some baby steps in Louisiana. You've probably heard of justice reinvestment and some of those projects, which are great.
Mm-hmm.
But we really need to push hard on that, because that really affects the quality of our life. Having a justice system that protects the public and protects victims, while at the same time recognizing that nonviolent offenders need to get out of the system and need a way to stop the cycle of criminal activity through drug treatment and rehabilitation. So those are important things that really affect the quality of life in the state and are important to me.
Mm-hmm. If you would think about people having a misperception about you, we've been asking all the candidates this as well. Is there one perception out there that you would want to correct?
Well, I guess I'm not sure what people's perceptions are. But I hope that people know that my real motivation in being a judge and doing what I do is because I believe in the justice system. And I believe the justice system is really at the core of holding our country together. We have to have laws, and people have to respect them. Mm-hmm. And so I'm very dedicated to that. Sometimes people think I'm a little serious, but it's just that it's so important to me that people do that and that we get it right. And so that's why I read everything, and I study the cases that I have to decide, because getting them right is important. Not every decision we make pleases people, but they have to be the right decisions. And as I said, I think if judges consistently make the right decisions based on the law and the facts, people will have confidence in our system. And that's what we need. We really need confidence in the system. And, we have to keep in mind that the legislature is the will of the people. The legislature goes there to represent people. It's their voice. And when they speak, judges have to listen, because that's what people want, and we have to respect what people want.
All right, Judge Marilyn Castle, candidate for Louisiana Supreme Court. Obviously, early voting starts tomorrow, and we are 15 days away from the general election on November 8th. We appreciate your time.
Thank you
Good
so
luck.
much,
Have a great
and
rest
I
of the
hope
campaign.
everybody will go out and vote.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We're going to post all of our interviews from the 5-question series at kpel965.com. You can hear this one along with them a little bit later on this morning. 7:24 now at News Talk 96.5 KPEL.